right, folks, welcome back to another episode of your favorite from America to Germany, doing it big, favorite podcasting situation. That's right, the BoomBastiCAST with me, myself, Mathew, and the great, handsome Alexander the Hauck across from me, doing it big. We got another glorious round with Uwe Boll, director, writer, just all around cool dude. Rebel. I love it, dude. He's a rebel. He's a balls to the wall, take no prisoners, reality, tell you how it is. If you don't like it, fuck you. This is how it is. I love it. You know what I mean? Um, Doing it. Another round. I don't know. This might be 4 or 5 eps with the man. Very cool. Always a pleasure having him on. This episode is like all our other ones, man. A slam banging humdinger, getting into all types of stuff. We're talking about, of course, the first Shift movie. We're talking about Run. We get a little tied up in, things of this world because the things of this world are very important. The way things unfold, it involves everybody. And it's always good to have a nice little discussion with like-minded people on kind of the what's going on and what could happen and just like kind of discussing, it breaks through like Yui's films, it breaks through entertainment into the real life, real world stuff, which is always a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? Do you want to say anything before we kick in, gentlemen, sir?
Yeah, sure. The big thing is that we're going to be talking about, of course, the movie that just came out. We're going to be talking about his next one that's in post production. That's up there getting looked at. And of course, the great thing about talking about Yui and everything, and the big thing about our show, which I want to make sure is clear at the very beginning, is we're all about going down the rabbit hole with our guests. Okay, this is coin the term free space. This is a space where people can go and talk about how they feel. I mean, there's no censorship. Okay, and the fact is that everyone has opinions. I mean, you can agree with them, you can disagree with them, you can hate them, you can love them. But the fact is that the most important thing is the freedom of passing ideas. And my opinion is that whether you agree with the opinions or you don't agree with opinions, everyone has a right to their opinions and everyone has a right to voice their opinions. And that is extremely important, especially when you are trying to do creative endeavors like making movies, painting, music, and all of that. The whole fact is that if you put a censor yourself, if you try to censor yourself while creating, you're not going to create anything worthwhile because then it'll be exactly like everything else. And if you want to see stuff that is, great censored content, go to Hollywood, watch all the Marvel movies. I promise you, they are censored to the gills, and you are going to go in happy. You're not going to be forced to think about anything really serious. You'll laugh, you have some popcorn, you go home, and you'll forget about what you watched about, 5 days later.
Yeah.
But if you want films that, force you to ask certain questions, give you those feels of, dread or make you, force yourself to look at something that you don't really want to look at, but you have to, that's when, you get into the independent films, the films that force you to look at things differently, force you to talk about things that you don't want to talk about. Because if you don't want to talk about, that's the things you have to talk about.
Boom. Boom. Very well said, my friend. Very well said. Well, I mean, I can't even add anything to that. That was just so fantastic. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show yet again. The great, the powerful Uwe Boll. Welcome back to the Boombasticast.
Thanks for having me again. Yeah.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. So, yeah, I know. Me and Alex got to see First Shift, which was very cool. You know, mucho gracias, very cool, liked it. Yeah, dude, you I know it's funny the cream pie talk. I won't give too much too much teasers away because I know people still gonna go check it out. But I was very get a big smile on my face when I seen the cream pie talk come into the situation. You know,
I watched yesterday Asphalt City with Sean Penn, and I saw so many almost same shots, so many same locations. Is that film with the paramedics where he's a paramedic with another guy and they're driving through Brooklyn, basically in Manhattan the whole time and picking up people there dying and gunshot, like stuff like that. Very depressing film.
yeah.
I think the film had something, but I saw like they drove under the Brooklyn, that kind of where the tram is in Brooklyn, where the French Connection was or whatever. Almost every ride they did was shot there. And it's kind of when you were there before, like me, and shot your own film, you know it's only like 1 mile long. It's not like endless, you know. And then you have every single time they're under that bridge and you under these tracks, and you think like, okay, but New York is a little bigger. So, but I think the director felt that they're so cool being like in a way almost in a tunnel, but not in a tunnel or something. So, but still, I think it was a very interesting movie. Not a movie you can watch with your wife, girl, kids, or whatever. You know, it's this kind of like tracks you down.
Oh, you can watch it with your wife if she's the right fit for you. I mean, the perfect wife would love to watch the movie with you.
Yeah, not mine. She always, when I have shit like this on, she's like coming in, switch it off. She flips completely directly off as soon as she sees blood or stuff like this, and she doesn't want to watch it. So, yeah, but yeah. And then I posted today, I watched Godzilla Kong today with my son. I put a little Twitter out that first of all, I think that movie looks like an animation film. It doesn't really look like a real, like when you watch the one with Kurt Russell, the TV show, it looked way better, I think, that it was more realistic. And but this film has various problems. It has the problem that it looks like Jumanji in a way, but I think the other problem was that the size of Godzilla and King Kong and a little monkey or whatever, and the other bad monkeys are completely changing in every single scene. You think first Godzilla is like at least 8 times bigger as King Kong. Then there are shots where they're like almost the same size. And you think the little monkey he was taking care of or whatever, you think it's maybe so big as like 3 human beings. And then they're going into a city and it's like the size of a house. And it's all like, it's crazy. I mean, they're really like unbelievable this kind of continuity things where you feel like, okay, I don't get that now. Like why the size changes so drastically in the film. It's like, I don't know, but yeah.
I mean, what do you think?
I watched with my son, so
In a situation like that, do you think that's just laziness on the filmmakers, or is it just because there's so many different designers working at it, they don't communicate type deal?
Yes, I think there are like 150 people in post-production on different parts in the world. And then they get the stuff where whatever King Kong fights the other monkey. And there you see, like before this, you see humans on him, like pulling his teeth out, like he gets a dental, basically, right? And so, and the human, you can say, is the size of his finger, like the hand, like something, half of the hand is the human, right? So, and that is fine. But then when you see Godzilla like walking into skyscrapers and crashing them, and then King Kong comes in Godzilla's world and fights him and has his size, you know, and you think like, then the human has to be the fingernail, the size of the fingernail, but not like almost half of the hand. So nothing fits anymore. And you think like, I don't know what they're doing, especially when they had that little monkey with him. And the little monkey is like, let's say 10% of King Kong's size, right? So means if the human operates on his dental thing and is half of his hand, then the monkey cannot be bigger as 2 or 3 humans, the little one, right? And then they're going into today's time, and you have him like the size of like a 10-store apartment building, and you see like how's that work? I don't know. You know, they're spending so much money on these films. How that could slide.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you will have a supervising producer or director on this, and why they didn't pointed it out and said like, what the fuck? I mean, like, you know, I would say like you have to shrink him down more, or you have to make him bigger, but in everything bigger.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? So that is strange, because whatever the very old King Kong from 90, what was the first one? 38?
30s, yeah. 30s,
Yeah, something like
that.
this.
Yeah.
The size never changed. That was the size. You know, it was like they had no problem with the size matching the other scenes. And it is kind of shocking sometimes that this big CGI-driven $200 million shows, a lot of times I have the feeling they don't look into the main stuff. Like they're going so into the details that they're completely forgetting like what's the story, or makes that all sense what is happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With multiple sizes, they can sell more multiple action figures, which is more important in the movie. You know what I mean?
In different sizes, like
Yeah.
little King Kong, or you actually like the big King Kong. I mean, it's really, you think like, what the fuck? It's so absurd, you know. So yeah.
I heard recently you've seen the new Joker movie too. I didn't get a chance to see it yet. I loved the first one. I thought the first one was really dark and great, but number two wasn't that. You weren't a big fan?
No, I think the thing with the first one was that had an impact on me like The Shining had.
Right.
You know, like when you really were sitting in a movie theater and like, whoa, that is like a film of the decade. You know, I have to say, like, There Will Be Blood and The Joker were almost my favorite films in the last like 15, 20 years. You know, because they were very consequential both. And they were like, there was no joke in the Joker one, you know, and that was like almost Clockwork Orange meets something. And then you see the Joker too. They spent 200 million instead of 55 million for the first one, and they're singing along, and it's like 2 hours 20 minutes. And that Kino Corner guy, I think that is on Instagram. I think he nailed it when he said like it's almost like the director like Todd Phillips or what that he wants to give you shit like that. You know, like look, they made us do it. They gave us so much money, we had to do a second part.
Yeah.
And you know, and we now make the second part in a way that nobody ever wants to watch the Joker again or something like this. I don't know, but it's like it was shameful and absurd, and I mean, I have the same with Megapolis, right? So it's like, you know, I love films from Francis Ford Coppola, but it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just like total bullshit. And nobody stopped him because he spent his own money. But I mean, I always try, as you saw in First Shift, or now my Run film, hopefully sold, getting soon sold. There are films you can watch and you get a story, like something happens, right? So, and it's not far away from your own experience, you know. You can totally, I think, feel in First Shift that is how it could happen, you know. So, and that's the thing. And with Run, with Amanda Plummer and so on, I did that in regards of the migrants, boats, and the violence what breaks out and stuff like this. And I feel more connected to this kind of more real stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe that is why I like that Asphalt City with Sean Penn, because I drove an ambulance when I was 19 to 20. So I had situations, not so many gunshots because I was in Germany in a little town, but you come and people die, and you come and people had a car crash, you come and people have a heart attack, you know, and this kind of stress you're in, I could totally identify with it. And I mean, in this film, of course, it accelerated because doing night shifts in New York, you will have a lot of gun and knife victims.
Yeah.
And you know, and the drama with it, that people maybe even are still attacking each other when you're already there with the ambulance. That is why I liked it. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of all this spaced away stuff what we see right now, also at a lot of the streamers and so on. I mean, this three body problem, you know, like where you feel like, did you watch that on Netflix?
No, I want to though. It looked weird. It looked very like interesting in the sense of it whole an imaginary mind movie type deal.
Yeah, it was supposedly what, like 3 bodies in 3 different time periods somehow connected or something like that.
Yeah, it's basically, so people getting out of the blue, you come home and there's basically an Amazon package and you have this kind of 3D glasses thing you can put on, and then you're in a video game. And you will always die in a video game, that is clear, and they only give it to 1 or 2 people. And then the first 2 people who played the game into like the Viking time or whatever, they die in real shortly after they play. And then it turns out it's the ETs, like whatever, like the life what lives millions of years away. Then it's the way to go in contact to tell these people we're coming. And then all the CIA and whatever, they all think like, fine, what they're coming means like they want to take us. Like, you know, and now we want to, that they don't come. We have to delay it. We have to kill everybody, whatever, right? But they're so far away, like hundreds of years away, that for the acting people, it's already clear that they will be dead when they're coming. You know, and that would be, so to be honest, like if I would be one of them, I would say like, I mean, why I should panic if somebody definitely comes in 230 years?
Yeah.
You know, then the other people should panic who are born from now on in 180 years. But, you know, like, but right now I don't feel like threatened.
Right.
You know, stuff like this. And then there's so much shit going on where it gets completely unbelievable, basically, that they are so far away. Because when they can communicate already with Earth, and I mean, where the fuck coming that things from? You have to make them somewhere, right, in China. I mean, how's that working? That they, if they're hundreds of years away, how can they call in and send Amazon with a thing where they have a video game on and they're still hundreds of years away? That doesn't make any sense. When you really would like rip it apart, this 3 body problem, nothing makes sense. Nothing. And I think because these guys did Game of Thrones before, they just had the free range. You know, they said, oh, we're going to Netflix. Netflix, how much you need? Oh, 500 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but this is how it goes. And I read this week also that Wolf with Brad Pitt and George Clooney from Apple, that they each got $40 million from Apple.
Damn.
Yikes.
To do this film, what nobody is watching. Like, you don't wait. I mean, who watches Wolf? I mean, and it's not even about the wolf. I mean, it's more like a drama, comedy, whatever. And it's like you look at this and you think like, okay, you know. We had a streaming of Run in LA last week with UTA, with a big agency, and everybody was there, like Amazon, Netflix, Universal, Lionsgate, they were all there. Everybody stayed till the end, what was very good. UTA told me that it's unusual that people watch the whole film. That shows to me, because it gets really gritty, my film in the end, that they stayed to see like what is happening, that they didn't like said, I don't care how it ends. So that means they know, or they felt I care, right? So, and absolutely nothing happened. And then I asked like, so, and now, like, I mean, that somebody wants to buy the film, and they said, oh, normally it takes months before they make a decision. And this I also don't get. This think about the amount of money they have to spend on my film in comparison to the money they're shelving out daily to these mega shows.
Yeah.
Who are then disappearing after 2 weeks forever, but they spend 100 million, 200 million. And my film, I mean, I could acquire realistically for $1, $2, or $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I mean, and they need months to make a decision. After months, they completely forgot that they watched the film. So I don't get that whole modern structure. When we were at the American film market with House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, you were screening the film, and then within 2 days, you sold the film.
Hmm.
You know, it was a question like to who? It was a question to for how much. But people made decisions. Like they were like, okay, let's try to get it. You know, like, and not like, let's meet in 2 months with like 100 titles,
Right.
and then we discuss what we buy. Because then, I mean, I would forgot from the 100 titles, like 90 films, I would completely forgot, like, what was that again? And then you need to watch it all again, or you need the trailers at least or something. You know, I just don't get all that corporate IT, AI structure, what's happening now in this world.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about Run. It's like the refugees, they come to like a small, like
Italian beach town, basically.
beach town, yeah, and like they kind of run amok, right? That's how it goes. There's that's like a very big, that's like very real over in America. I don't know how it is in Germany, but America, that's huge right now. It's with like you know, like illegal types coming over, and we got them, they're putting them in hotels, and like, you know, they're
Yeah.
not all bad, but there's definitely some riffraff with there, and there's like people getting raped and killed and stuff. It's just like it's crazy. Was that any influence on the film or stuff like
Yes.
that? Yeah.
But we have in Europe the same, but from different countries, but it's the same basically. If you come from Somalia, whatever, Afghanistan, it's the same. You come from Ecuador, you know, like, and they didn't grow up under our rules, you know, and they're also, because they're poor, because, like, for example, a lot of young men coming, they want sex. They, you know, that's the reason a lot of rapes happening, and stuff like this. And the whole discussion, I mean, in Germany, we had like regional elections, and the right corner party basically won all 3 elections, but nobody makes a coalition with them. So they're still not in the government, but they got the most votes. And the reaction of all the other parties is, how could you vote for these Nazi guys, you know? Instead of we having real problems, and if we don't solve it, then the right corner people at one point get 50%, and they will solve it, you know, because they will just throw them all out and prosecute them and shoot them, whatever, right? So, but things getting violent. That is the reason I made the film, because I'm always like very realistic in my approach, and violence a lot of times rules, you know. And the thing is, what we have is this kind of, as you said, they're getting housing, they're getting health care, they're getting money, they're getting food, you know, and other people work for it 40 hours a week to have exactly the same. And they say, like, so I work, I pay taxes, this guy's getting it all for free, and you basically unlimited take them in, instead of like, it's enough, you know. And I know that I will get flagged for the film in a way, especially in Europe, because they're all so woke and everything, you know, like all the poor migrants. And I said, yeah, but there is also the level where it's enough. I mean, otherwise you destroy your own life completely. And what I think is, we had knife stabbings, dead people on like fairs and carnivals and all this stuff. And when you say, why we go in a risk that we cannot be safe on our own railway stations or bus stops, only to help them? I think it's a question what should be allowed, right? To say we owe absolutely nothing to Somalia. You know, every people colonization and blah 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 hundreds of years ago. I give a fuck, to be honest. Like, you know, it's like subject matter is since 50 to 80 years completely closed. And so we can basically say we gave a lot of aid to Africa and we don't owe them. And so now if they come here and turn violent, how can they, a lot of times they're not even getting removed then. A lot of times they still not even getting harsh penalties for it. You know, like, oh, they were traumatized, poor guys. You know, and you're like, okay, but they raped the girl, and what should the girl think about it?
Exactly.
And like, yeah, but still, you know, like stuff like this. And it's this kind of indifference where you have this, and I felt I need to make a film what shows like how easy things getting sideways. That is what I did in my film Run, where one guy, after they're coming in with the boat, they're all running around, some getting directly arrested, otherwise people, some escape, but one guy is like hiding somewhere, and a little, like not a kid, like a 16 years old boy, he sees him, right? And he takes him as a hostage. And then we have like Kristen Renton from First Shift, she's a diving instructor, so she kills the guy from behind with a harpoon, because she's in the ocean, but he falls with his machete into the buoy. Like he has the buoy and they're collapsing, the boy's dead. And then she goes to jail. Right? That is realistic, that shit like this. Right? And would say, look, the boy would be still alive if you wouldn't shoot him with the harpoon. Now you get like involuntary manslaughter charge, right? And that brings my main other guys like James Russo and the other actors over the edge. You know, that they say, if you don't let her out of jail, we fucking flatten you off. You know, like stuff like, it's a reason, like, it's a typical Boll situation, similar to Assault on Wall Street. But I think stuff like this, with more and more incoming people, it's only a question of time where things like this completely escalating. Yeah. You know, I mean, I think it's important to make anger films like this. And, it's when I follow the US elections right now, I feel like it's kind of absurd for me, right? It's absurd because you have Harris, who did absolutely nothing for 3.5 years, and now speaks what she would do if she would have power.
Right.
And you say, but you had power. You are in government. You were the vice president. Right. I mean, what was holding you back, you know? And when you then see, like, I think Trump did a very good point where he said, okay, hurricane, whatever, there was another hurricane, they got $2 million in aid, like the whole region. And at the same time, like in Gaza, they got like $170 million aid into the Lebanon or something, where we have this endless war with Israel. I mean, that is like for 50 years going back and forth. And you feel like, that's exactly the questions we have in Germany too. It's like this kind of, that is how it is. You know, it's this kind of, we pay the taxes, we are the citizens, so why we bring all that migrants in and pay for them, then we get all the Ukrainian refugees, we pay for them, then we pay all the Ukrainian costs, basically, like Germany and US is bigger as Germany, but these two countries paying basically 80% of the weapons and aid into the Ukraine, you know, and then you feel like, okay, Putin is an asshole, but we don't owe the Ukraine anything, right? But they're acting like we owe it to them. And then it's the same, you know, that drives me insane. Like, no, like, yes, they're fighting against Russia. Too bad that Russia attacked them, but we could also say, I give a fuck. You know, like, I mean, that would be also possible. And you can also say at your border, it's over. You're not coming in anymore. We know your country is in a shitty situation, but we're not taking care of you anymore. End of the story, right? So we could say this. And as soon as you say this, what I just said, you're a Nazi,
Right.
or you're a right-wing nut, and that's the thing. I have a lot of like people when I'm in Germany, like they hate me for my opinions, and they say, how could you argue like this? Now you're pro the Alternative for Germany party, how you do it. I said, look, I go subject matter by subject matter, and if something, I don't care about political agenda, left or right. I actually don't care. I care about what is actually happening. And I have nothing against that. If we would have 20,000 migrants coming in every year, I would give a fuck. I would never even talk about it. But if you have constantly 2, 3, 400,000 people coming in every single year since 10 years, it's an invasion. They take the school spots, they take the healthcare, they take the rental apartments. Nobody in Germany, a lot of my friends looking for apartments, they cannot get anything because the city seizes them, right? They say, oh, we have this guy's there, this guy's there. So, I mean, how this can be a plan?
Yeah.
How can it be like, okay, you want to continue that forever? Then we have Islamistic Republic of Europe soon and stuff like this. I mean, it's just like completely to ask for a little common sense. I think also what Trump did with Zelensky was completely correct. Like that he told him, like, your country is completely destroyed. In the very end, Russia will win. And they have almost, I do a lot of like reading up what's going on the front lines. 70% of the original real army from Ukraine, like the real soldiers, are dead. So you have now recruits, like people for 4 weeks doing some training, getting a weapon, like good luck, So it's only a question of time that whatever weapons you deliver to them, it doesn't work. You need people, know. And we as NATO cannot send people because then we have a third world war.
Right.
We cannot do this. I mean, and I think also they all underestimate Putin in a way of his ruthless actions. I said from the beginning on, if let's say Ukraine, we pump Ukraine full of weapons. Zelensky came to the US to get the wide range bombs, to bomb Moscow. That is what his goal is. He wants to hurt Russia in Russia. So, and Putin said in a press conference, okay, these bombs, if they're getting delivered and they shoot into Moscow, for us, it's World War III. And I, in a way, have to totally agree with him. I mean, what else you need, right? I mean, and then we have to take that serious. We cannot just say, like, we give a shit, we just give all the weapons to the Ukraine. It would be insane to do this. So we have to tell Zelensky, and I think Trump is the guy who's doing it, saying, look, in the very end, we have two options. We don't support you anymore, and you get overrun by the Russians at one point, and Russia takes the whole Ukraine. Or Russia keeps what they conquered, what they have. It's like 20%, you can say, of the Ukraine is gone. And I make Putin accepting that deal. I think that will be Trump's strategy, that he will talk to Putin and say, look, costs your money, costs your soldiers, it's a total shit show. And Ukraine, as you know, would never give you a centimeter of the land, but I made Zelensky agreeing to it, that you keep where you are, we do a border, and we call it a day. If you attack the Ukraine, we bomb the shit out of you. I mean, then it's clear, then we have to give Ukraine kind of a security, saying that all of NATO will right away take it. If he like goes with tanks over the border, the NATO has to come. But he will not do it because he's not completely out of his mind. He barely is winning against Ukraine. How he wants to win against, like, from Sweden to Finland to Germany to Poland to England to France to Italy, he has no chance. He's completely outnumbered also with the weapon systems. And, and then all the airplanes, Ukraine has no real airplanes, and the NATO alone has thousands of fighter jets. They would just bomb him to shreds. So that's the thing. And I think that's the way to handle it. And not like, oh, okay, Zelensky, give you another $50 billion. And 4 months later, 50 billion bucks gone, another 100,000 people dead. Okay, we give you another 50. Because that is what Harris will do exactly what I just said. She will not finish that war. Instead, they give Ukraine weapons till there is no more Ukraine.
Yeah. Well, that's, yeah, like I hear that's the issue. We just had that the flooding and stuff like that, that hurricane that just tore up with South Carolina or something like that. And we don't even have the funds to really appropriately give them to take care of their situation because our funds are all tied up elsewhere trying to get people to like us type deal.
Yeah, that is insane. If you think about that, right? How cheap US, a lot of times, I mean, Hurricane Katrina, whatever, you know, how cheap the government reacted inside the US to help Americans in all the years, you know, like, and then they like outside of the US, they're like feeding everybody, you know, like when you see Israel and the whole Arab world,
Yeah.
they want to kill the Jews. That's the fact.
Yeah.
That's the whole conflict, right? If they wouldn't kill the Jews, if they wouldn't have a problem with Jews, then all of this would never happen. But they want to wipe out the Jews, but the Jews don't want to wipe out the Muslims. They give a shit, right? So that's the conflict. So for me, it's crystal clear. We have to be on the side of Israel, you know, and there are like a few million Israelis, but there are like 150 million Arabs around.
Yeah.
And the only thing what keeps Israel alive is the better weapons, the better army, you know, that they have all the Iron Dome and all that stuff. Otherwise, it will be gone.
Yeah.
So, and you can argue, are they doing too much? Are they going too aggressive? Are they, whatever, 100%. You can argue this. But you cannot, like, what I think is, we just have to let them do whatever they want, what they think is reasonable. And definitely, and Germany is the same like the US, don't give any more fucking money to Iran or Hezbollah or Lebanon. They always are whiny as soon as getting bombed, right? Then they're like, oh, we need a new hospital. And who pays it? Europe and the US. It's like, you know, that is what I don't get, is this kind of totally absurdity that we're always falling into the trap that then we give all the money that they rebuild it and build new bombs.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, look, you're all on your own. You did that massacre, October 7, too bad for you. Now you have to suffer the consequences. Arrivederci, you know, forget it. So,
Yeah.
But you're not getting it. It's like as soon, I will never forget, the massacre happened, the German government, we are all Israelis, right? Then Israel went into Gaza. Oh, that is too brutal. You have to immediately cease fire, stop it, whatever, right? So, I mean, you look at this like, okay, guys, why you do anything? Just shut up. And we have nothing to do with that situation. We don't have to give money, you know? So, and I think like, as a filmmaker, I want this stuff, like, I'm interested in reacting to reality. That is the reason I did Run. You know, this kind of like, I felt there's something going sideways with the migration. And we are all this kind of accepting this now, that this happens day for day. And we're accepting that fentanyl kills hundreds of thousands of people, that the inner cities are unsafe, that you have like zombies running down the streets, and that they, you know, like this kind of stuff, we're accepting it all. But all that drug stuff comes also, of course, into the country, mostly from Latin America, in the US. You know, that more people have drugs, more people sell drugs, and so more people die, and more people getting homeless, because historically you spend all your money on drugs if you're a drug addict and stuff like this.
You know, with Run and how they said they had to wait some time before they could get back to you. Do you think that has any? You make raw movies, and I love the fact that you make raw movies. Do you think that the rawness and the realness of it might be why they're kind of waiting to see where kind of things land, world-wise?
Yes,
Yeah.
maybe this. And I mean, when I showed the film to UTA, they passed on it, right? They said, "Oh no, we're not doing it." But then 2 days later, they called me and said, we're thinking about that film. and we want to represent the film. That shows that I think I made a film what is not like a right-wing film. It's just a fact-driven thing that this stuff can happen exactly how I showed it, and that was like going after them. And I think that was the reason these people stayed in the movie theater to watch it. And I just hope that they have the guts to show it. I bet the people will watch it if it's like on Netflix or whatever. People will watch it everywhere. I mean, you know, there's so much stuff on Netflix where I watch 2 minutes and I think like, why? You know, like why I should watch this now? And if I would see 2 minutes like a trailer of Run, I would totally watch that film. Because I feel like that is what we're talking about every single day. That is what's happening every day. So I want to see this. And I hope that they're getting a little more away from maybe their computer algorithms and more into, but I think that it's a good film. Let's buy that film. Let's show that film. That is what I hope, you know, that a little more people working in the offices, putting the foot down and saying, no, we should show that film. That's kind of important, or, you know, and let's have the discussions about this. So, you know, I feel more like that's more my way to move forward, is to do this kind of things that all kind of more realistic, based, similar to Assault on Wall Street, Rampage, this kind of films. I think it's more interesting for me to do films like this.
Yeah, and I mean, you brought up the word important. You know what I mean? I do feel that they're more important than just entertainment in that aspect of things. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
it's good to get the reality out there, because there's propaganda on both sides of the fight. You know what I mean? When it comes to political issues. So like to have something that's straight and narrow right down the line that people can kind of get a good idea of what's really going on, because most of the time they're just trying to smoke screen reality just to make their side look good, the other side look bad. They really don't even care about the issue. It's just like, well, here's the issue, how do we look good next to this issue? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's this kind of when you hear the Harris talk. I mean, I'm amazed by what with Harris, right?
Yeah.
She talks into lines she learned, and she's like, the biggest privilege is to be an American.
Yeah.
You know, whatever, you know, but it's such empty phrases.
Right.
What does that mean now? That I have to work for free and whatever, you know, like, I mean, that's the thing. That's my problem. What I have with this total phony bullshit. There is no substance. And she says, for example, startup companies have to get a 50,000 bucks tax break. When she, like, I watch always Jon Stewart, like The Daily Show. I think Jon Stewart is funny, and he not only, of course, he will vote for Harris or whatever, but he gives it to both sides in a way, right?
Yeah.
And then when he showed like what she said, and the question is like, yeah, but why is that now then happening? Like not now. Why you didn't 2 years ago went to Joe Biden and says, look, we should give 50,000 tax break to everybody who opens a new business. Why you have to wait now till Biden is out and you are the president? I mean, nobody holds you back to get that done, you know, because it's not, from what I see, that would be not the biggest deal. You maybe even get votes from Republicans to do this.
Right.
To, you know, so, but that's the thing that shows me that it's all bullshit, that it's not like the day she is elected, she would forgot everything she ever said. And, you know, and that's the thing. And Trump, they go after him because he's lying and over exaggerating and all that stuff, 100%. But I think that Trump, on the main issues, has a clear point and a clear standpoint.
Yeah.
Right? He's with Israel and he gives a shit what's happened to the Hezbollah leaders, whatever. You know, he said, bomb them all to shreds. I give a shit. But it's a clear statement. You can totally disagree with it, but you know where you are. Right? And you know also that he will not support an endless war in the Ukraine. He knows that in one or the other way, he will like wrap that war up. And you know, and that is for me a better thing as this kind of in between, and then we are talking about it for 5.5 years, and then we're not really doing anything about it. And then we're all whiny because the next election starts and they have to campaign again, and then act like if we ever govern, I do this. And then, but you are the president now since 8 years. I mean, if Harris gets elected, it will be 8 years where she would be in power, and I bet 4 years later, nothing will change. You will have every year a million migrants coming in, a total shit show everywhere. Nothing will change.
Yeah. Well, the migrants are new voters. That's why they're coming in by the bucket loads, because they're more. I feel like the people of America, I kind of can see past the bullshit now, so they're kind of like they can draw out what the reality is. So they need like new voters in that don't quite understand, so they can get those votes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they made in Germany 2.5 million migrants came in from 2016 to now, German citizens, because they know they will vote for us and not for the right-wing people who want to throw us out. With the passport, they cannot throw you out anymore. You can vote. It's like an avalanche, right? So it's this kind of like, we need to stay in power, so we do this, And that's the thing. It's like it's kind of a dirty game what they play. What I feel that is a dirty game. When I have a Canadian passport additional to my German passport. I had to make like 12 films in Canada, marry a Canadian, and bring like 250 million bucks from Germany in for movies to finally get the Canadian passport. And now migrants from Afghanistan coming, and they're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just think like, okay, so why are they getting it? It has to do with the criminal statistic. It's like totally also absurd. Like when we have the criminal statistic in Germany, you can say 30% of all crimes come from migrants. But what they don't say is that another 30% of all crimes come from migrant people who turned German, who just got the passport, because then they're not migrants, they're not foreigners, they're all German. So 70-30 doesn't sound so bad, right? But when you go to the details and you say, no, it's 60-40 crimes from not Germans, but this 60% who do 60% of the crimes, they are only 10% of the population. So you have 90% real Germans, basically, and 10% foreigners, and they do 60% of the crime. So I think the right counterparty has points to say, like, yeah, but what the fuck? I mean, why we let that slide? And that's the thing. It's like there's so much bullshit. When they had elections, so they were like the 28 people, this government now was flying back to Afghanistan, to Kabul. And it turned out they were all criminals. They were all basically from jail into the airplane into Afghanistan. And then they gave each of them $2,000 cash as pocket money. And of course, no jail penalty anymore because they're flying them out, right? Yeah. Then they came in, and the Taliban, first thing what they did is they took all the money away from them and put them in their jail. Right? So, and then in Germany, the discussion was, how could we do this to the poor 28 Afghanistan, like rapists, knife stabbers? They were feeling sorry for them.
Yeah.
And it's almost like Postal, where you feel like, first of all, 2,000 euro in Afghanistan is more as a 1-year salary of anybody. Like it's a real money. So if you write in a newspaper before the airplane lands that the Taliban reading the newspaper, basically they're reading it online, each of these guys, that's 56,000 euro, each of the guys will have $2,000 cash, right? Of course, the Taliban was standing there. Welcome, brothers. Like the German airplane took back off, and then they're like, okay, now empty your pocket.
Yeah.
That was so clear that this happens. It's so silly almost. And then, of course, in Germany, everybody flipped completely out. Like, how could we give them even money? They could be happy that we were even flying them out.
Right.
You know. So, and this is so you live in this total like satire almost. Like, congratulations, you are a mass rapist. We fly you out business class. So, like, because what is then the message? It's like, okay, if I get totally heavy criminal and they finally arrest me, I will not be long in jail because they will offer me to fly me back to Morocco, Tunisia, whatever, like everywhere, Africa, you know, and then like, then I do this and then I'm going back. That happened also already, like there are tons of cases of this, because from Tunisia, Egypt, or Morocco, there are holiday paradises, right? So it's like I don't know why you even get any migrants out of these countries. So and then they just go to Ryanair or a cheap like airplane thing for $200. Boom, you're in Madrid. Boom, you're in Paris or Berlin. Now you go out, you throw your passport away. You know, like nobody knows anymore who you are. And you're like, I'm the poor migrant from Morocco. Nobody remembers you. You're back in the system. You get social welfare. You know, it's unbelievable. You know, yeah, maybe they do the haircut different, they do a beard, whatever. And then you think like, oh, I have no ID. Then they're getting this German asylum ID, you know, and getting money. And it's like you cannot make it up, you know. And I think it has to be like this kind of, for a while, also in the US, when you see the numbers in the US, it needs a complete migration port.
Yeah.
You know, to really figure out where is everybody and what are they doing and what we can do. And you need to like really patrol the border with drones and everything, like to really like it's over.
Yeah.
And then you're not getting processed. As soon we have you, we drive you back into the other country, and you know, like you will not get in. It will not like we don't let you, because that's what they always hope, that they're getting processed and then they're already one step in.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you think it is a voting thing, or do you think it's something else? What do you think is the reason for letting all these people just come here and pile in, and they're eventually going to be a problem? They start to outnumber, other
Yes,
folks, dude. It's
they're
going to be a
getting
real
more
issue.
kids. The US has the same problem as in Europe. We are all getting not enough children.
Yeah.
And in Latin America and Africa, they're getting 5, 6 kids. It's just like a pyramid going up, you know, and then like in 30, 40, 50 years, you are a minority in your own country.
Right.
That is happening. And I think there are various reasons. There are people that just think we have to be so good to everybody, we owe everybody.
Right.
That's number one. The second is that they think we need to destroy the white people. Like, I think there is really a kind of a total absurd racist point on it too, that they think we have to mix up and be all colorful and brown and whatever, you know, like, so absurd it is. But I think there is a racism from this side. It's not only a racism from the thing, like from the Ku Klux Klan or so, that they say like we want to be all white. I think there's racism from the other side too, like that they have to destroy the race, that we all have to be mixed, right? So it's that is also one thing what plays with it. Then the third thing is they think we owe everybody because we did so many military intervention in the third world, whatever, we owe them. So they have the right to come. And, you know, and the fourth thing is really the vote, that they think more the left party think as more we let in, as better for us for the election results.
Yeah.
You know, and they're all dead wrong. That's the thing. It's like what they don't get is when all that, when you see with the free Gaza stuff, when all this like gay transvestite people say Israel are murderers and they're on the road together with the Muslims protesting, they're not aware that these Muslims in power would kill them.
Right. Throw them off a building. They throw them off of building tops.
They absolutely have no like sympathy. They're using them. all that stupid students from Oxford, from Harvard, from all that elite universities, they're getting used by the Islamistic people for their cause. And their cause is to kill all Jews. That's the cause, and then taking over the Western civilization. And I think that's real. I think that's absolutely. I think there is a 100% plan from the Islamistic world because they are not able to create wealth for themselves in a way, to just infiltrate and slowly take over the Western civilization, that there's so many in the Western civilization that they can vote everybody out, that they can decide who should rule, right? They will not totally kill everybody or something, because they need the technology, they need the intelligent people, right? They know without Silicon Valley, they can pack in. So they want this kind of Western wealth, but they want to control it under their rules. Like, like you have to be now a Muslim. Otherwise you're dead, but you still can run Twitter, no problem for us. Like it will be this kind of totally absurd world, but I think because they want the money, they want this kind of good life, but at the same time, they stay very traditional with this Sharia law and all that stuff. Women have nothing to say. And it's so shocking for me that all these people, that they don't see that they're getting played.
It is quite shocking, because you do have like the more liberal stance of like the feminists and like you said, like the LGBTQ whatever causes, who feel like, oh well, if we're nice to them, they'll be nice back to us, and it's like not quite that way. You know what I mean? It's weird.
Yeah, and also like the thing is, what they perfectly do, also in German talk shows and so on, is they are the victims. It's like horrible what Israel is doing, horrible what the government is doing, horrible what everybody's doing, right? And you say, then they're running around with the Palestina flag in Berlin and so on, and you say, okay, why you then run away from Lebanon, from Afghanistan? I mean, if you think it's the best, I don't know what you're doing here. I mean, then live there if this is how you want to live, right? So, and I think that what we should not do is to be too like understanding liberal with people that want to wipe us off the planet. That's the moment where you have to say, okay, if I say whatever, Mohammed is a goat fucker, whatever, like if I insult your religion, in our world, you can do absolutely nothing about it because it's free speech, and and we can say whatever you want. Nobody can kill anybody only because you say something. So you have to live with it, that people have other opinions and other people making jokes, and you have to live with it. And you have to like draw the line. You have to say, like, when they put that fatwa on Salman Rushdie for 25 years, and then the guy stepped his eye out, that would be for me a reason to throw them all out.
Yeah.
To say, sorry, but if you're like really, I'm not talking about like mild Muslims or something. A lot of Muslims, they're very liberal, but Islam, like Sharia law, if you like live by the Sharia law, you cannot live with us.
Right.
Because if somebody says like that guy has to die because he wrote a book, then unfortunately, we make the decision, no, that guy should be living free. And you all, because of this, have to leave. Like, we throw you out, sorry, So that's the thing. And I think that is where it's the French writer who wrote that, the Houellebecq guy, right? He wrote like 12, 13 years, that book, like, that they in French, there was a big scandal book where he said, we will obey. The French will obey. There will be Muslims at one point. And he wrote that book where everybody attacked him for, but I think he wrote very, very sophisticated how slowly you start obeying. Like you start like, we can also have a burqa on our woman. Like we don't want to piss them off.
Right.
At the Ramadan, like I remember this year at Ramadan, in Frankfurt was the whole Muslim said, like basically in the radio news, everybody said that, dear German people, please don't eat daytime in public now in the inner city. Have a little feeling for the poor Muslims who are not allowed to eat during the sun is out, right? When I heard this in the radio, I was like, you fucking kidding me? I mean, it's a completely, I ate like one curry sausage from the pig after the other in public after this. You know, like we have always this curry sausage stands. And like I completely of course, didn't follow this order. It was not an order, that was like a wish, right? But a lot of Germans were so pissed about it. You're like, I mean, that they even had the guts to ask this. That you ask, okay, now because we are stupid and we do the Ramadan and don't eat daytime for whatever reason, now you have to do it too because you hurt our feelings. And that is typical for all these new woke people. They don't want to hurt their feelings,
right,
and they obey. And I think that is what that French writer nailed. Like the chance is higher that we're ending up like this in comparison to we're ending up like, no, fuck you.
right.
You know, whatever. You can do interval fasting all day long. I eat when I want. And that's the end of the discussion. You know, so that's the thing. And with this, I have a huge problem. And there were like also in universities in Germany, also in Canada, where they roll up the praying carpets, right? In the university, in the public squares, on the sidewalks. They're blocking even in Bochum in Germany, in a city, was the Mensa was almost blocked because there were like 250 Muslims were praying. You couldn't get to get to the buffet, right? So and the students were all like, oh, what should we do? I mean, I have to say, when we were young, we would broke that.
Right.
That's the same. I mean, I would never went my whole life. I didn't like pussied out, but I would just trample on that fucking carpet. I would tell them like, get the fuck away from here. I'm going now and eat.
Yeah.
You know, I would never accepted that, and I would never respected that, and I would the opposite. I would completely disrespected that, and would tell them like, fuck off. Pray wherever you want, right? But I mean, why you want to study at the university when you're so stupid to roll out the whole time praying? You know, like that's the thing. It's I have no sympathy for it. And I think we need more like civil resistance against this insanity.
Yeah, it's tricky because I think a lot of people are afraid because, you know, they're kind of a scary religion when you look back at their history, you know what I mean? That people don't want to beheadings and all types of crazy stuff that go down, and you know, with like the rape and stuff like that. It's like you got to worry about your wife and your kids and stuff like that. Like there's no rules to what they won't do, so to speak. You know what I mean?
No, I know. And but that's the thing. I mean, you know, I'm not like going around with a rifle or something, right? So and I think most of the people that are walking around with guns in public, they don't need to do it. And it's not where you have this kind of dangerous situations. But I definitely think that it's you have to be alert that if you start the trouble, that it could go violent. Right. So that's also a thing where the knife stabbings like growed like crazy. And I think that's like we had a situation like my wife was with the dogs like walking on. We have like an exit to basically a park, like a cement factory park, and there were two guys. They were like taking drugs, whatever, on my lot, right? And she called me and she said they should leave, and they basically told her to fuck off. So I took my gun. Right. I mean, I have licenses, right? So I have license in Germany, I have license in Canada. So on my lot, I can carry my gun, right? So I took my gun. I didn't pull it at them, whatever, but I had the gun, you know? And I said, look, you're on my lot. Like, what the fuck are you doing, right? And they're like, they saw the gun, right? So, and they're like, oh, it was a misunderstanding, whatever. They just wanted to smoke pot. And I said, yeah, you can smoke pot wherever you want, like go to the other park, but here you're on a private property. So, but that created the respect, right? And I normally would not do this. I'm not running around with a gun here the whole time. But I felt at that moment, if these are two guys, one was Arab, one was Caucasian, and my wife didn't describe them. Do I know if I go unarmed, that they say, fuck you, and then they had knives.
Right.
So that was the reason I armed myself, and and because then I know, okay, if they flip it completely out, too bad for them, not for me, right? So that's the thing. I felt better with it.
For sure.
Yeah. So, and I mean, in retrospective, they maybe would walked away, even if I would just walked up without any gun, but it shouldn't be like this.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like this that you even have to think about it.
Yeah.
That's the bad thing, that you start thinking about all the violence happening in the last 2-3 years, where you feel like you don't want to go in a risk that a situation ends for yourself badly. It's like in earlier years, you could have a fist fight, nobody pulled a knife. Right. Now you don't know. You cannot really start a fight with somebody. You are very, very, maybe in a very bad position.
Yeah. You think that the world in itself is in one of the most violent times that it's been, or what do you think?
Yeah, individual, yes, with this fanatism and also drug abuse, and at the same time, this righteousness about stuff.
Yeah.
I think people are, in a strange way, more ready to die themselves also, mostly Muslims, of course, but also when you see in a way, the Ukrainian war, I would left the Ukraine. I would not stay there till I'm dead and
right.
Be in the trenches like the First World War, what they're actually doing, because now you have drones and they kill you. That's the thing also, that would be the risk is so high that I felt like I could never go in a war like this. You have to be insane. It's poor luck to survive. And that's also a point where if you would bring it out to the powerful people only, and you wouldn't have an army, they would never had a war. Because Zelensky, Putin, Biden, Trump, nobody would do a war personally, being in the trenches fighting against it. They would always find a solution not to go to war, if it would be them themselves who have to fight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think that should be the route moving forward to what are we doing? I mean, what the fuck? I mean, Putin maybe never made that impression on me that he's a suicidal maniac. Yeah. So, and I think we need a president who is actually willing to exchange with him, who talks with him, and not only blame him. You attacked Ukraine. You're a piece of shit. End of the discussion. Right? And instead, I think he is the leader of Russia. Is he a KGB killer? 100%. But also I think, has no interest to die or to destroy the whole world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not in my opinion, he's very calculating, an ice cold guy. But he knows also when the bluff could go really wrong, that it's over for him too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's that brings nothing. We need that talk. We need people that are able to not play diplomacy. People who sit down and say, so that's the problem. Let's discuss it, how to solve that problem and how to leave the past behind us. I mean, we have no choice. That if Putin doesn't get removed from the inside of Russia, we have to live with it.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And with the whole Trump and Putin thing, it's a good leader is someone that can maneuver personalities. You're not going to be dealing with great people every day. You need to be able to chop it up with them the same way you could chop it up with God the same way you chop it up with the devil. You know what I mean? Make them both kind of happy. You know,
Yeah.
for
Now look
sure.
at the Kim guy from Korea.
Yeah,
He is, I think, more crazy as Putin, right? So I
I
mean
agree.
he's a godlike figure, and I think he's a psycho. He's a total psycho. But they have nuclear bombs. They cannot reach America with it in a way, so far only the ocean. But also there, when Trump met him, I think there was a good step. You know, I mean, the population in North Korea is starving. Looks like he gives a shit about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it has this kind of potential of a revolution against him at one point. You know, I mean, you know, China and Russia enjoy the Western luxus. There are a lot of people, they have a middle class, people are rich. You know, it's like the Chinese government and the Russian government are, in a way, better in the saddle as the guy in Korea. Yeah, because nobody gets in, nobody gets out, nobody watches TV, like you get nothing, no internet, nobody has TikTok or whatever. And of course, he's doing it to keep the control, right? So he knows as soon as he would open the internet, it's all over. He would get removed within 2 months. They say, what the fuck? Why we're living here like this? So, but I think what we don't want is he runs amok and throws the bombs everywhere on South Korea and so on. So the best is to deal with him and to trade with him. You know, that he can do better for his people also. When the people getting more food, better food, you know, like stuff like this.
yeah.
That will, in a way, make him safer and maybe overall a little more open for this kind of like, yeah, I'm a murderer, I'm a psycho, but why not living a little happier? You know, like, I mean, it's the thing. And I think that has to be the strategy. I mean, what else you want to do with North Korea? I mean, invade it? I mean, you know, that doesn't bring anything. Then he's a martyr. Then everybody will say, like, he was the best thing ever. We're fighting to the last man, you know. So, I mean, it's a big mistake that we want to put our moral compass on every country.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, like you said, it's a satire, dude. It's a tragic comedy, the whole thing. You know what I mean? You brought up Postal. I wanted to tap into real quick. I know that you did the crowdfunding thing for Postal. It kind of had a little issue. The gaming company's down. They said they were down to work with you, but like they don't want new producers in the mix or something like that.
we made a mistake,
Yeah.
and I thought that Vince Desi and Jared, that they would allow the crowdfunding. So we brought it online, Gary, Otto, and me, without asking them. Then they were not happy with the campaign, but also with where we wrote, let's say we're not getting enough money for Postal 2. I want to do something like California Fright Movie, like Kentucky Fright Movie, cheaper, right? And they didn't want it. So that is why they wrote, we don't want it, we didn't allow it, whatever. And so I think we made a mistake, but they made a mistake too in not calling us about it. And instead doing a press release and twittering it around, you know. So, and I felt always that Postal is, I think, the movie I liked the most from all of my films. It was a blast doing it, but I felt also that Postal, the film, goes far beyond the game.
Yeah.
It was a real satire. It was a reflection of every crazy thing what happens at that time at Bin Laden, whatever. And I think they didn't respect that enough. You know, I think they saw Postal because it didn't hit box office, but it turned into a cult film, that they didn't, in a way, were too happy about it. But I think that when I saw here, when I got, like, for example, I got from the US for Massacre Video, I got 25 Postal TV Blu-rays here to Germany. We will release it now in Germany too, and 25 Blood Rain 4K, the new Blu-ray what they sell.
Mm.
And so I put on my Facebook, I have a few here, like 20 of them I sell. I sign it and I sell it. And Postal was almost the same day, all 20 were sold. And Blood Rain, I still have 23 from 25. So that about influence of a film, right?
Yeah.
Because when the movies came out, of course, Blood Rain was the hot shit, the expensive film, Ben Kingsley, whatever, but the time changed that completely. And I know that Postal and Rampage 1 are the two real cult films I have.
Yes.
They're really the films with the most fans of all my films. And, you know, even if they were both not this obvious, you could say The Name of the King with Jason Statham, whatever, right? But when I go on a convention, whatever, with what people come, they come with Rampage, they come with Postal. And they made the biggest impact on the people and on the audience. And I think that when you see there comes a documentary soon about Postal the game, and there's 25 minutes about the film. Like, this guy's interviewed me too. I watched the whole docu. It's coming out. I think the docu is good. It's more about Vince and the company, and it's like, as I said, 25 minutes about the film. But when I see the actors like Zach Ward, the Postal guys, whatever, Vince, whatever, talking about the film, they were disappointed that it didn't get enough box office and didn't get enough movie theaters playing it also. They were all happy about the film, but they also felt like that the film was not perfect, but what I say is, like, Larry Thomas, who played Bin Laden, said it was just like they missed the point, right? And I mean, I have to say, Larry, no, if you don't see Postal that you nailed it as Osama bin Laden and that the film nailed it, then you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. I mean,
Right.
that would be my reaction to it, right? I mean, I felt like, or Zach Ward said, he watched the film, he sent me 78 cutting, he wanted to edit 78 scenes. And he said, Uwe did nothing. He did one of my cuts, right? So it's funny when I watch the interview with Zach Ward, but I think, yeah, for good reasons, because it totally works, right? So I felt like when I got that list, I remember this, I was like watching it, reading it, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? No bullshit. Like, I think Postal, I wouldn't change a thing. And, you know, and I was shocked that after all that years where these actors would see what Postal turned into, including the Running with Scissors people, that they would see that like me or like the fans of Postal, right?
Yeah.
And they don't. And that's the thing what I felt like, okay, maybe I'm totally wrong, but I don't think so. So, you know.
You're right. I think they're just being awkwardly, like, politically correct for their, like, career, so to speak. Like, they don't want people to, it's satire, very dark humor. I love the film, and I think they're just kind of like, it pushes buttons like you were going for. And I think that they're like, they don't like the pushing buttons thing, you know what I mean? I'd assume.
They I don't know what they wanted, more harmless, or they wanted, you know, like and I think especially Larry Thomas as Bin Laden, we bring the satire. You know, he talks to Bush all the time as his best buddy. He is like he lives in America. He's not hiding in Pakistan. He is like lactose intolerant, what he was in reality, Bin Laden too, and you know, and reads his video messages from a teleprompter. I mean, there was, if that is not satire, I don't know what satire is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's completely, almost completely insane. And but it's sometimes where you feel like, okay, these guys don't get it. Let's say it this way, you know. So yeah, but I'm totally happy with Postal. But for now I put it on the back burner, you know, and I have two projects. What develop, but it looks like that the one I will start shooting end of January, and it will be not like a Rampage, but also again political, realistic, but a little like Falling Down meets Rampage.
Nice.
It looks like I got a very prominent big actor doing it. I cannot tell you right now who, but I'm very happy because it took me a while. And you need to, I needed somebody, I got some like bad feedback from others, but you need the people they believe in what you wrote, right? So where they say like, wow, I want to do this, you know, and then I found now somebody with a big name. And that was good because I was scared to do it. If you don't have one name, nobody pays attention. That's the problem, right? To just do a film with good actors, but nobody knows them. This you can only do if the streamer or whatever pays the whole film. But if you do a film and then you want to sell it, you need this kind of name what carries it. And I think it will be people will really like it and will think like, that's a film I want to watch. You know, that's the I had that with Falling Down too. Yeah. You know, I only didn't like the ending of Falling Down, but the first hour of Falling Down, I had the blast. It was like exactly how I feel sometimes. You know,
great flick, yeah. It's a masterpiece in itself. I remember seeing it has the same opening as Fellini's 8.5, which I always thought was like a weird. I seen 8.5 later, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like when they lined up nicely, I was like, holy mackerel. So as far as California Fried Movie, is that off the table, or are you still trying to?
No, it's not off the table. And I have also actors that wanna be involved in it, but we have to find the thing is this. Yeah. If you make a comedy, what is kind of, and that is why I need actors, they are funny. Not actors they want to just do it. And you need actors, they are funny. Like what we had with Postal. You need the right cast. Comedy is not easy. And then the jokes, we have a lot of jokes collected already, also from other people. But I have to be very careful. The jokes cannot age. So you need to do the jokes or the scenes, they also still stand in 10 years. If you make something what is too actual, like who wins the election in America or something, you did. Because we make a film, right? You can do in SNL, that you can do like in comedies and TV, but you cannot do that if you make a film. It has to be like that you can actually watch this in 10 years and you laugh your ass off. We wrote a thing like that. I play myself, right? I'm in a TV talk show, and I say that Akira Kurosawa had no clue from filmmaking. So there has to be like deadpan explaining why Seven Samurai and everything were total crap, you know? So, then I said, I shot it new, right? So, and then you have all non-Asians running around with like this kind of like samurai swords and like black guys, what a total bullshit. But it's not too a long scene, but it would be one little thing, right? So that you have this kind of a TV stuff going on, people changing the programs, and you have a news flash, or we have here Uwe Boll, the director, what is he doing? You know, and then where I know my reputation, so that you also make parodies on films.
Yeah.
You know, where you make total make all this bullshit making it funny, because of course there is some bullshit to that Japanese samurai films. I mean, let's face it, I like Akira Kurosawa, of course Seven Samurai was good and whatever, but there is also kind of pathetic bullshit to it. When I watched here the thing what got the Emmys, Saigon, or what is it, the show Shogun.
Yeah, Shogun, yeah.
Yeah, so, right, it's not a bad show, but I just couldn't watch it because I was like thinking about my scene I wrote, because when you see them, you know, like they're going barefoot in the paper houses all the time, and they're sitting there discussing, and and you feel like, I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I want to make like jokes about like obvious things we all know from films, and even from the best is to make jokes about like films that were celebrated, right? And then
Right.
you fold them into pieces like where but you have something on them. And the same you can do, of course, with TV shows, but also, of course, with the news cycle.
Yeah.
That you have like the front lines in the Ukraine, and they have to do like what they actually do. They are very strong on Instagram with like little videos where they save dogs or stuff like this.
Yeah.
Then you have to whatever saving all the dogs and they're putting them in the campfire to get warmer. Well, like so you totally like it has to be similar what Postal was. Like the ugly face, the cynical face of the world around us, that
Yeah.
it's all manipulation, that it's all not how it looks like, and that it's like basically in a way all almost insane, you
Yeah.
know.
So
That's the
is it more flow like one flowing thing like Postal? Or is it going to go more like Kentucky Fried Movie where it's like segments?
Yes, it would be more like a documentary movie because
Okay.
that only that's the reason that I said to Vince too. I said, look, what is if we collect $1 million for Postal 2? I said we cannot make it. Postal had a lot of action,
Yeah.
right? And if you suck with the second part, if you don't create a new story around the dude with real actors, real story, real action, it will suck. So you need $5-6 million to do this,
Yeah.
right? But like a Kentucky Fried Movie, especially if like changing actors, you shoot a little here, you shoot a little there, and you can make it trashy because nobody expects something different. It's not you expect the Seven Samurai Uwe Boll film. You have 200 like horse riders. It's clear that you have 5 people like who are obviously not Chinese or Japanese, have no
Yeah.
clue what they do because they hired extras, like stuff like this. And they talk like Japanese, total racist, who gives a fuck? But that is then the fun. Like the reason why it would be funny is because it is trashy,
Yeah.
because it is this kind of uh, obviously reenacted everything, but that makes it so funny, because it's like this kind of what we did in German Frank movie at that scene, like, oh, another flood in Bangladesh in India, my newscaster, and he said, unfortunately, we have no pictures, so our special effect team recreated the flood in India, right? And then we had like a jungle built with like little trees, like Playmobil, and you had like little Lego figures, they're all getting flooded away. And you're like, that's how it looked like, but the people were laughing their asses off. And but that is the thing that you can make with $1 million. You can make the whole film, So and I would have a lot of fun doing that film,
Yeah.
to go this because SNL is lame for me. It's not funny, So to show SNL where the hammer really hangs, like like when you give a shit about everything,
Yeah.
And so I think that is also the comedy what the people would actually go for. They would love this.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd love to see a new Yui comedy. I I, I know you
yeah,
got to roll out, but it's always a pleasure, man. Thank you for coming on the
yeah.
show again.
We talk next week, I think, and then we talk about totally different and whatever. I'm always there.
Hey,
Okay.
awesome. All right,
Okay.
talk soon, man. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Uwe Boll. Always a pleasure to have that man on the show. So much fun, dude. Talk about real shit to have fun. He's such a colorful, great guest, and we're very proud to be able to have him frequent our show as much as he does. It's an honor and a privilege, an honor and a privilege. And I can't wait to see what he stirs up with that. I love Postal, and to be able, I've been waiting to see a nice, really cool, dark comedy from Yui for years, and I think he's gonna kill it. And hearing some of the ideas really just gets me going. And I know he's got his fingers on the pulse of this madness that we call a world right now. So I'm really excited to see what he does with that. And then I love Rampage is my second favorite film of his, and the fact that he's diving back into like those waters kind of is very exciting too, because like that anti-hero, it's kind of like the madness of the world with a serious tone. And then Postal's kind of like the madness of the world with a tongue-in-cheek tone. You know what I mean? And it's really, I'm looking forward to both of them. And it's a special moment in time. And I'm glad that we can be friendly with Yui Watt in general. But while these movies get to be released upon us, because it's a good time for Yui fans. What do you think, Alex?
Oh, I definitely agree. I mean, the best thing that I love, I mean, like he's talking about a lot of people not getting satire. I mean, I was thinking about jumping in, but he was on the roll. I didn't want to cut in.
Yeah,
But the fact is, comedy is the biggest equalizer. I believe everyone, no matter how high or low you are in life or society, everyone, you have to laugh at yourself. And if someone makes a pot shot at you on a joke, you just laugh with it. It's just, I mean, that's what jokes are for. I mean, everyone has foibles and you have to laugh at those foibles. And I really think satire is one of the biggest types of comedies that we are lacking, that we need more of. I mean, look at the world we live in. It's just insane with everything going on. And I mean, heck, the greatest satirist of time is Mark Twain. I mean, you read those books in high school and in college, and you look at his great wit, where he just boils things down to reality and making fun of the reality that he was living in.
yeah,
I mean, it's like every 10 years, okay, someone comes up and says, you know what, Tom Sawyer and Mark Twain stuff has to be removed from the libraries or from school curricula
yeah.
because they say this word, they talk about that. This is not right. This is wrong, and it's like, yes, it is. That's the point. It is the point.
Right.
Okay. And that's why when you do things like that, if even dealing with dark and taboo subjects, you got to you know delve into it, because I got news for you. That's the society and the life we live in, and if you don't look at the humor in it, you can't get through the dark times.
For sure. And I'm glad that he brought that pistol out with him to talk to those hoodlums, because I would have had a tear in my eye if I opened up the fucking Facebook and TMZ had some fucking Uwe Boll done got killed in a parking lot, dude. That'd be horrifying.
Yeah.
So and, I'm a believer in guns. You shouldn't go out there killing people to kill people, but it's your freedom to have one. You know what I mean? I definitely support that. Yeah, dude, this was a lot of good times, a lot of good fun. Do you want to say anything in closing before we bump out, or we go
Um,
bump on
just
out?
just pretty much what I said, and the fact is, I mean, between Matt, myself, and our viewers out there, hopefully, when he does that movie, he'll give us a call and have us come down to give him a hand, because that would be awesome.
I'd definitely be down with that for sure. And it's much kudos to you again, dude. It's I love all our guests, but Yui's one of the ones I think we've kind of really made a nice bonding relationship with, which is cool. And like Gary K. Wolf, another dude we talk to frequently, have him on. There's a lot of people, you know what I mean? But it's very cool. It's a very cool deal. So we hope everybody enjoyed this episode of the BoomBastiCAST. Catch it wherever if you're listening to it, that's fantastic. But why aren't you watching it? know what you want to watch? What would you rather watch over on that Boombastic Media YouTube page? And I assume the majority of people, well, I know from the numbers, the majority of folks be watching on the tube, and that's fantastic. We love y'all. And we even get a few people that watch on the old Patreon page. I can see the numbers before the videos go live. I see them numbers popping up on the videos while they are unlisted before they go public. You know what I mean? So definitely big kudos and love out to the folks out there supporting on the Patreon way. You know, Boombastic streaming, Patreon, all the podcasts got their uncut videos up there and early access stuff. And just thank you everybody for just watching in general. You know what I mean? Like me and Alex have said before, the numbers have really grown in the last year, and we really have appreciation across the board, gratitude and love. And thank y'all for listening and tuning in with us. It's always a pleasure bringing y'all the cast. And with that being said, what cast? We'll catch y'all on the next episode of the BoomBastiCAST. Peace.